Have you ever felt like no one truly understands your peace? Like no matter what you do, others question your calm or your confidence? The truth is, your peace is not for everyone to comprehend. It's a sign that you're growing, that you're learning to value yourself, and that God is quietly strengthening your worth in ways others cannot see. You're stepping into a space where distractions, opinions, and pressures no longer control you. Every challenge you faced has prepared you to handle life with focus, clarity, and resilience. This peace you carry, it's a reflection of strength, self-mastery, and unwavering purpose. Today you'll discover why your calm is powerful, why your worth is undeniable, and how to protect it in a world that often misunderstands it. By the end of this video, you'll see that what others can't understand is exactly what makes you unstoppable. Your peace is not a weakness. It's a quiet force that commands respect, nurtures growth, and prepares you for the life you are meant to live. Stay with me, because your journey to unwavering strength and clarity begins now. You did not arrive at this calm state by accident. It was shaped over time through pressure, disappointment, and moments when nothing made sense. Each situation forced you to grow stronger inside. What looks effortless now was once very difficult. This peace is the result of endurance. People assume peace means life became easy. In reality, life became clearer. You learned what deserves your attention and what does not. You stopped reacting to everything around you. That decision changed your inner balance completely. God used delay, silence, and unanswered questions to build stability in you. While others chased quick comfort, you learned patience. While others complained, you observed. That inner discipline became your strength. Now your calm speaks louder than explanations. You don't need approval to feel secure. You stand grounded, even when misunderstood. That stability shows your worth has grown beyond external opinion. Some people expected you to collapse under pressure. They assumed the weight would be too heavy. They watched closely, waiting for proof that you would fail. But the outcome surprised them. Instead of breaking down, you adjusted quietly. You learned how to carry responsibility without bitterness. You learned how to move forward without resentment. That inner shift changed how you walked through challenges. God strengthened you in ways others could not see. There was no announcement, no visible reward. The work happened internally. Confidence replaced anxiety slowly and naturally. Now those same people don't recognize you. They expected weakness but found control. They expected noise but met silence. Your steady presence reflects a deeper level of personal growth. Peace often feels confusing to people who live in constant tension. They are used to emotional reactions and loud responses. Calm energy feels unfamiliar to them. It challenges their understanding. When you don't react the way they expect, assumptions begin. Some think you are detached. Others think you stopped caring. The truth is simpler. You learned emotional control. God taught you how to respond instead of react. That shift protected your energy. It allowed you to stay focused instead of drained. This control changed how you handle people and pressure. Your calm presence now becomes a mirror. It reveals unrest in others without you saying a word. That is why your peace feels uncomfortable to those who haven't found it yet. Your identity has changed quietly over time. You are no longer driven by fear or comparison. You don't measure your value through other people's reactions. That chapter has closed. God reshaped how you see yourself. You stopped questioning your worth daily. You stopped shrinking to fit expectations. Confidence grew from understanding who you are. This new sense of self feels unfamiliar to others. They remember the old version of you. They still expect the same responses. But growth doesn't ask permission. You now move with clarity and purpose. Decisions come from stability, not pressure. That shift shows your worth is no longer fragile or dependent. You learn that silence can carry more strength than words. You no longer feel the need to explain every decision. You don't defend your growth. You allow results to speak. This change unsettles some people. They were used to controlling conversations. They relied on your reactions. Now they are met with calm boundaries. God taught you restraint for a reason. Not every moment requires a response. Not every opinion deserves attention. Wisdom increased as you learned when to stay quiet. Your silence is not weakness. It reflects confidence and self-respect. It shows that your worth is secure, even without validation. Some people misunderstand your stillness completely. They assume silence means confusion or weakness. They think you are unsure or lost. In reality, you are more certain than ever. You learned that not every situation deserves your emotional energy. You stopped wasting focus on noise. You stopped engaging in unnecessary conflict. That choice protected your peace. Growth taught you observation before reaction. You listen more carefully now. You read people without confrontation. That awareness helps you move smarter, not louder. What they see as withdrawal is actually self-control. You are no longer pulled into distractions. Your calm shows maturity, not absence. Peace is not given freely. It is built through pressure, loss, and moments of deep frustration. Each challenge carved strength into you. Nothing about this calm came easy. There were times when anxiety felt constant. Doubt tried to control your thoughts. You questioned outcomes repeatedly. But endurance changed your internal structure. God allowed difficulty to train emotional balance. You learned how to stay steady under stress. You learned how to move forward without bitterness. That skill became valuable. Now your calm feels natural. You don't force it. You earned it through experience. That history is what gives your peace depth. Your growth happened quietly, away from attention. No one applauded the internal work. No one saw the mental battles. Yet progress continued. You changed habits when nobody noticed. You adjusted your thinking privately. You learned from mistakes without public explanation. That discipline shaped your strength. God works most effectively in silence. While others expected visible change, the real work was happening inside you. Confidence replaced insecurity over time. Now your stability surprises people. They didn't see the process. They only see the result. That unseen work is why your worth feels solid. You don't react emotionally like before. Triggers that once controlled you lost influence. Words that used to hurt no longer stay with you. That shift changed everything. You learned emotional awareness instead of emotional impulse. You pause before responding. You think before speaking. This control protects your mental space. God helped you recognize patterns. You saw how reactions drained your energy. You chose calm over chaos. Intentionally, that decision strengthened you. Now others struggle to provoke you. Their tactics no longer work. Your composure shows inner authority and confidence. Your sense of worth no longer depends on approval. Compliments don't inflate you. Criticism doesn't reduce you. Balance replaced insecurity. You stopped measuring value through attention. You stopped chasing recognition. You focused on internal stability instead. That shift changed how you carry yourself. God grounded your identity internally. You know who you are without explanation. You stand firm even when misunderstood. That clarity protects your confidence. Now your presence feels steady and grounded. You don't seek validation. Your worth is self-supported and deeply rooted. People notice that you no longer rush to respond. You give yourself time to think. This pause makes others uneasy because they are used to fast reactions. Your calm changes the power balance. You learn that speed is not always strength. Thoughtful responses carry more weight. Silence allows clarity to rise. This habit protects your inner stability. God trained you to slow down mentally. You stopped letting emotions control decisions. You began choosing wisdom over impulse. That discipline reshaped your behavior. Now your words carry authority. When you speak, People listen. Your calm presence communicates confidence without force. Some people try to pull you back into old patterns. They expect the version of you that over-explained and overgave. That version no longer exists. You learn to set internal limits. You stopped allowing guilt to guide your actions. You choose peace over people-pleasing. That shift created emotional freedom. God helped you see manipulation clearly. You recognized when silence was wiser than defense. Awareness replaced confusion over time. Now you move with self-respect. You don't apologize for growth. Your boundaries reflect a stronger sense of worth. Your calm unsettles those who rely on control. They used to predict your reactions. Now they feel unsure. This change disrupts familiar dynamics. You stopped feeding unnecessary tension. You removed yourself from draining conversations. You chose mental clarity instead. That decision preserved your energy. God showed you that control loses power when attention is withdrawn. You learned to disengage peacefully. This skill protects long-term focus. Now your peace becomes unmovable. Others adjust to you, not the other way around. That shift signals inner strength. You no longer explain every decision you make. Your life does not require public approval. This independence marks personal maturity. You learn that explanations often invite judgment. Silence keeps your plans protected. Privacy became a form of strength. God guided you to trust your direction internally. Confidence replaced constant reassurance seeking. That change sharpened your clarity. Now you move quietly and effectively. Your results speak clearly without announcement. People notice you don't compete anymore. Comparison no longer drives you. You focus on progress, not performance. You stop measuring success through others. You define growth on your own terms. This mindset reduced pressure. God helped you detach from unhealthy comparison. You learned contentment without stagnation. Balance replaced envy. Now your path feels lighter. You walk steadily without distraction. Your worth is self-defined. You've become comfortable being misunderstood. Not everyone needs access to your truth. This realization brought peace. You learned that clarity for everyone is impossible. Some misunderstandings are intentional. Acceptance freed your mind. God strengthened your confidence quietly. You stopped correcting every assumption. Wisdom taught restraint. Now misunderstanding no longer hurts you. Your calm shows inner assurance. You don't rush outcomes anymore. Patience replaced urgency. This shift improved decision-making. You learned that forcing results creates stress. Timing matters more than speed. Waiting became productive. God taught you trust through delay. You saw how patience protected you. Growth required time. Now your progress feels stable. You move with confidence, not pressure. Your emotional reactions are measured now. You no longer explode under stress. Control replaced chaos. You practiced awareness daily. You learned to pause internally. That habit rewired your responses. God used pressure to train emotional balance. You gained strength without noise. Calm became natural. Now stress no longer defines you. Your reactions reflect maturity. People notice your energy feels different. You are not drained like before. Peace protects your focus. You stopped overgiving emotionally. You learned to conserve effort. That choice restored balance. God guided you towards self-preservation. You learned that rest is necessary. Strength requires care. Now your presence feels grounded. You show up whole, not exhausted. You no longer chase closure from people. You found peace internally. This independence changed everything. You learned that answers are not always available. Acceptance replaced frustration. Freedom followed. God taught you how to release unanswered questions. Trust replaced overthinking. Calm replaced confusion. Now you move forward without emotional weight. Your mind feels clear. You respond with logic instead of emotion. This change surprises people. Calm thinking gives you advantage. You trained yourself to separate feelings from facts. This habit improved judgment. Clarity increased. God helped you gain perspective. You stopped personalizing everything. Objectivity grew. Now your decisions feel grounded. You lead yourself wisely. You don't seek revenge or validation. You choose peace instead. That choice protects your energy. You learned that reacting prolongs conflict. Silence shortens it. Letting go became power. God taught you that peace wins quietly. You stepped away instead of fighting. Growth followed. Now conflict fades around you. Calm surrounds your path. Your confidence is quiet now. You don't announce progress. Stability replaced display. You learned that true confidence doesn't need attention. Consistency matters more than applause. God reshaped how you define strength. Humility balanced confidence. Focus sharpened. Now your presence feels strong without noise. People sense it immediately. You've learned to trust your intuition. You listen inwardly. This awareness guides decisions. You stop doubting your judgment. Experience trained discernment. Confidence followed. God refined your perception through time. You learned to recognize patterns. Insight grew. Now your choices feel aligned. You move without regret. You don't engage in every discussion. Selectivity protects clarity. Not every voice matters. You learned that attention is valuable. You invested wisely. Focus improved. God showed you the cost of distraction. You chose depth over noise. Peace followed. Now your mind feels organized. Distractions lose influence. You stopped chasing people who left. Acceptance replaced attachment. This brought relief. You learned that loss can be protection. Detachment created space. Growth followed. God guided you through release gently. Healing happened gradually. Strength increased. Now you move forward without resentment. Freedom feels natural. Your patience surprises others. You don't rush conversations. Calm pacing defines you. You learn that listening reveals more than speaking. Observation became skill. Wisdom followed. God trained you to value understanding. Silence sharpened insight. Awareness grew. Now your words carry weight. People respect your restraint. You're no longer controlled by fear. Confidence replaced hesitation. Courage grew quietly. You learned fear loses power when faced calmly. Experience built bravery. Trust followed. God strengthened you through repeated challenges. Each one prepared you. Growth accumulated. Now fear no longer stops you. You move forward steadily. You stop needing reassurance. Self-trust replaced doubt. This independence feels freeing. You learn to rely on internal stability. External approval faded. Confidence remained. God taught you self-belief through experience. You proved resilience to yourself. Strength deepened. Now your decisions feel firm. Doubt rarely visits. Your calm influences others naturally. You don't force leadership. Presence speaks. You learn that example carries power. Behavior influences more than words. Peace spreads quietly. God positions you as steady influence. You lead without control. Respect grows. Now people feel calmer around you. Your peace sets tone. You no longer dwell on past mistakes. Learning replaced regret. Progress followed. You accepted imperfection as part of growth. Shame faded. Wisdom increased. God helped you release self-judgment. Compassion replaced harshness. Healing followed. Now the past no longer defines you. Forward focus remains. You've learned to manage disappointment wisely. Hope stays balanced. Expectations matured. You adjusted how you view outcomes. Flexibility replaced rigidity. Peace followed. God showed you resilience through unmet plans. Adaptation became strength. Stability grew. Now setbacks don't shake you. You recover quickly. You value consistency over intensity now. Small steps matter. Progress feels steady. You learn that sustainability beats burnout. Balance protects longevity. Growth continues. God guided you toward long-term thinking. Patience shaped discipline. Strength lasted. Now your pace feels healthy. You endure without strain. You no longer internalize others' behavior. Understanding replaced offense. Peace followed. You learn people act from their own struggles. Detachment reduced pain. Clarity grew. God helped you see beyond reactions. Perspective protected your heart. Calm increased. Now criticism doesn't affect you deeply. Stability remains intact. You've developed emotional maturity quietly. Control replaced reaction. Balance defines you. You practiced awareness consistently. Growth happened slowly. Results stayed permanent. God strengthened you through everyday discipline. Small changes added up. Confidence settled. Now your peace feels unshakable. Your worth stands firm. There was a time when uncertainty controlled many of your choices. You questioned yourself often. Every decision felt heavy. Over time, experience taught you how to trust your judgment without hesitation. You learned that confidence grows through repetition, not perfection. Small, correct choices created momentum. That momentum built assurance slowly and steadily. God allowed situations that required responsibility. Pressure forced clarity. Clarity strengthened self-belief naturally. Now your decisions feel grounded. You move forward without second-guessing. Stability guides your direction. You no longer absorb negativity from every environment. Awareness taught you separation. Not everything deserves entry into your mental space. You learned how emotional contamination works. Exposure affects mindset. Distance protects clarity. God helped you recognize unhealthy atmospheres. You chose space over conflict. Peace became intentional. Now your energy remains consistent. Surroundings no longer dictate your inner state. There was a season where approval felt necessary. Validation influenced direction. That phase quietly ended. You learned that reliance on praise creates imbalance. Internal assurance provides steadiness. This shift reduced anxiety. God guided you away from external measurement. You learned self-evaluation. Confidence became personal. Now your worth feels independent. Opinions no longer control movement. You approach challenges differently now. Panic no longer leads. Analysis takes priority. You learn to break problems into manageable steps. This method reduced overwhelm. Progress became achievable. God trained patience through difficulty. Calm thinking replaced urgency. Control followed. Now obstacles feel temporary. Solutions come with clarity. You stopped explaining emotional distance. Growth required space. Not everyone understood. You learned that self-protection does not need justification. Boundaries preserve balance. Silence maintains peace. God encouraged internal alignment. You honored limits without guilt. Strength followed. Now separation feels natural. Stability replaces obligation. You recognize emotional patterns quickly now. Repetition taught awareness. Familiar cycles no longer trap you. You learned how certain interactions drain focus. Observation prevented repetition. Wisdom increased. God sharpened discernment through experience. Recognition replaced confusion. Confidence grew. Now you adjust early. Energy remains protected. You no longer react to pressure instantly. Space between stimulus and response changed everything. You learned that pause creates clarity. Calm thinking leads accuracy. This habit reshaped communication. God trained patience through repeated tests. Control developed gradually. Strength matured. Now conversations feel balanced. Reactions remain measured. You stopped expecting fairness from everyone. Realism replaced idealism. Peace followed. You learned that expectations create disappointment. Acceptance reduces frustration. Understanding improved. God taught perspective through observation. You stopped personalizing behavior. Stability increased. Now disappointment holds less power. Calm remains intact. You learned how to let situations unfold naturally. Control loosened. Trust strengthened. You realized forcing outcomes drains energy. Allowing flow preserves focus. Balance returned. God guided surrender without weakness. Confidence remained intact. Calm followed. Now progress feels smoother. Resistance disappeared. You stopped revisiting past conversations mentally. Closure came internally. Peace followed. You learned replaying moments creates stress. Release frees attention. Focus improved. God helped you move forward mentally. Detachment reduced weight. Healing progressed. Now the past feels distant. The present holds clarity. You no longer confuse kindness with obligation. Generosity now has limits. You learn giving without boundaries creates exhaustion. Balance preserves compassion. Control returned. God taught wisdom through experience. Discernment guided generosity. Strength followed. Now kindness flows without depletion. Stability remains. You learned how to manage silence comfortably. Quiet moments no longer feel awkward. You discovered that stillness allows thought clarity. Reflection strengthened understanding. Growth followed. God reshaped your relationship with quiet. Calm became productive. Insight developed. Now silence feels powerful. Awareness deepens naturally. You stopped needing constant reassurance from others. Internal grounding replaced dependency. You learned to confirm direction within yourself. Confidence grew stronger. Doubt weakened. God built resilience through independence. Trust replaced fear. Strength matured. Now assurance feels natural. External support becomes optional. You learned how to disengage without hostility. Calm exits replaced arguments. Peace followed. You recognize that leaving quietly protects dignity. Distance prevents escalation. Control remains. God taught wisdom through restraint. Strength appeared in silence. Balance followed. Now conflicts dissolved quickly. Calm prevails. You approach life with steadier expectations. Extremes no longer control emotions. You learned moderation protects mental health. Balance improves clarity. Peace grows. God trained emotional regulation through time. Stability replaced swings. Strength followed. Now days feel consistent. Calm remains steady. You stopped explaining your growth. To those committed to misunderstanding, acceptance freed you. You learned not all listeners seek clarity. Some resist change. Silence protects progress. God guided you towards selective communication. Wisdom shaped restraint. Peace followed. Now conversations feel intentional. Energy remains preserved. You learned how to recognize inner warning signals. Awareness arrived through experience. You noticed discomfort. Often signals misalignment. Attention prevented mistakes. Growth followed. God sharpened intuition through repetition. Recognition replaced confusion. Confidence grew. Now decisions feel guided. Regret reduced. You no longer rush emotional healing. Patience replaced urgency. Progress deepened. You learned healing unfolds gradually. Forcing recovery delays peace. Acceptance helped. God allowed time to restore balance. Pressure lifted. Strength returned. Now healing feels complete. Calm feels earned. You learned how to remain steady during uncertainty. Calm replaced panic. You accepted unknowns without fear. Flexibility preserved peace. Stability followed. God strengthened adaptability through experience. Control loosened. Confidence remained. Now uncertainty feels manageable. Trust guides movement. You stop measuring success through comparison. Personal standards replaced competition. You learned growth looks different for everyone. Focus improved. Pressure faded. God redirected attention inward. Progress became meaningful. Confidence strengthened. Now achievement feels fulfilling. Balance remains. You recognize emotional maturity as quiet strength. Loud reactions lost appeal. You learn composure commands respect. Stability influences environments. Calm spreads. God refined leadership through example. Authority became natural. Presence strengthened. Now your calm impacts others naturally. You stopped overanalyzing others' intentions. Observation replaced assumption. Peace followed. You learned speculation creates stress. Facts bring clarity. Balance returned. God taught discernment through patience. Understanding improved. Stability followed. Now interactions feel lighter. Calm prevails. You developed confidence through consistency, not motivation. Discipline replaced bursts of effort. You learned small habits create lasting change. Structure improved outcomes. Peace followed. God guided routine building gently. Stability formed. Strength grew. Now progress feels reliable. Confidence remains steady. You learned how to be present without distraction. Focus sharpened. Peace deepened. You reduced mental noise intentionally. Attention returned to priorities. Balance improved. God encouraged mindfulness through simplicity. Awareness increased. Calm followed. Now presence feels natural. Life feels clear. You understand now that peace is maintenance, not accident. Care keeps it alive. You learned habits sustain calm. Awareness prevents relapse. Balance holds. God trained responsibility for inner stability. Growth matured. Confidence settled. Now peace feels permanent. Your worth feels secure. You reached a point where emotional distance stopped feeling cold. Instead, it felt healthy. Stepping back allowed clear thinking. Calm replaced constant mental noise. You learned that closeness without understanding creates exhaustion. Space allows perspective. Perspective restores balance. This adjustment changed how you relate to others. God allowed clarity through separation. You noticed how peace improved with fewer explanations. Strength formed quietly through that awareness. Now distance feels intentional. You choose connection wisely. Stability protects your sense of worth. You no longer rush to fix situations that are not yours. Responsibility became selective. This choice reduced pressure. You learned that carrying others' burdens drains focus. Letting people manage their own paths creates freedom. Balance returned gradually. God showed you limits through experience. You understood where involvement ends. Wisdom shaped restraint. Now your energy feels preserved. You remain supportive without self-sacrifice. You developed comfort with delayed results. Waiting no longer creates anxiety. Patience matured naturally. You learned progress is not always visible immediately. Growth often works beneath the surface. Trust improved endurance. God strengthened perseverance through timing. Lessons arrived slowly. Confidence followed consistency. Now waiting feels productive. Calm replaces restlessness. You stopped interpreting silence as rejection. Understanding replaced assumption. Peace followed quickly. You learned absence does not equal disinterest. Perspective removed unnecessary worry. Stability increased. God guided emotional clarity through observation. Awareness replaced insecurity. Strength followed. Now quiet moments feel neutral. Calm thinking remains intact. You learned to protect mornings and evenings intentionally. Structure improved emotional balance. Calm framed each day. You noticed how routines shape mindset. Consistency stabilized emotions. Control improved naturally. God helped you value rhythm over chaos. Order supported clarity. Peace expanded. Now days begin grounded and end settled. You stop reacting to opinions formed without understanding. Acceptance replaced defense. Relief followed. You learned not every view deserves correction. Silence preserves dignity. Confidence remains untouched. God reinforced restraint through experience. Awareness filtered responses. Strength increased. Now judgments lose influence. Calm stays dominant. You learn to sit with discomfort briefly instead of escaping it. Awareness reduced fear. Growth followed. You realized avoidance prolongs stress. Facing emotions shortens recovery. Balance returned. God allowed discomfort to strengthen resilience. Courage replaced hesitation. Stability grew. Now discomfort feels temporary. Confidence remains steady. You stopped measuring progress daily. Long-term vision replaced impatience. Pressure eased. You learned consistency matters more than speed. Progress unfolds naturally. Peace increased. God guided patience through repetition. Endurance replaced urgency. Confidence strengthened. Now improvement feels steady. Calm sustains effort. You learned how to disengage from arguments without guilt. Silence became resolution. Peace followed. You recognized winning arguments costs energy. Letting go preserves balance. Strength remained intact. God taught maturity through restraint. Calm responses replaced defense. Control returned. Now disagreements fade quickly. Stability holds. You adjusted expectations about people's capacity to change. Realism replaced hope-based pressure. Calm followed. You learned growth requires willingness. Acceptance reduced frustration. Peace returned. God guided understanding through observation. Wisdom replaced disappointment. Balance restored. Now acceptance feels freeing. Calm guides interactions. You learn to slow conversations intentionally. Listening improved understanding. Responses became thoughtful. You noticed patience invites clarity. Rushed speech creates misunderstanding. Control followed. God shaped communication through awareness. Calm pacing strengthened influence. Confidence grew. Now discussions feel grounded. Respect follows naturally. You stopped blaming yourself for outcomes beyond control. Responsibility became realistic. Relief followed. You learned control has limits. Acceptance reduces stress. Balance improved. God taught perspective through experience. Clarity replaced guilt. Strength remained. Now outcomes feel manageable. Calm remains steady. You became comfortable making decisions without consensus. Independence replaced hesitation. Confidence followed. You learned alignment matters more than agreement. Self-trust improved clarity. Peace increased. God strengthened decision-making through solitude. Reflection sharpened judgment. Stability followed. Now choices feel firm. Doubt loses ground. You learned how to remain calm when plans change. Flexibility replaced resistance. Peace followed. You noticed adaptability preserves energy. Rigidity creates stress. Balance improved. God trained resilience through unexpected shifts. Control loosened. Confidence remained. Now change feels manageable. Calm leads. You stopped revisiting old identities. Growth demanded release. Peace followed. You learned clinging to past versions limits progress. Letting go creates space. Strength grew. God guided transition gently. Awareness replaced nostalgia. Balance returned. Now your present feels aligned. Calm anchors identity. You learn to pause before committing emotionally. Awareness guided connection. Stability followed. You recognized patterns early. Prevention replaced recovery. Peace increased. God sharpened discernment through experience. Insight replaced confusion. Strength matured. Now relationships feel balanced. Calm remains. You no longer fear missing out. Contentment replaced urgency. Relief followed. You learned presence outweighs constant activity. Peace thrives in simplicity. Balance returned. God-guided satisfaction through clarity. Focus sharpened. Confidence grew. Now contentment feels natural. Calm sustains joy. You learned how to detach from expectations placed on you. Freedom followed quickly. Peace remained. You realized expectations often reflect others' needs. Release restores balance. Strength returned. God supported autonomy through understanding. Clarity replaced pressure. Stability grew. Now expectations lose influence. Calm prevails. You stopped revisiting emotional wounds repeatedly. Healing required movement forward. Calm followed. You learned reopening pain delays recovery. Acceptance speeds peace. Balance improved. God allowed healing through progress. Strength replaced reflection. Confidence grew. Now wounds feel closed. Calm remains. You learned how to stay composed during criticism. Objectivity replaced defense. Peace followed. You recognized feedback is not identity. Distance preserves clarity. Strength remained. God guided emotional balance through understanding. Calm responses replaced reaction. Stability grew. Now criticism loses power. Calm dominates. You stopped needing immediate answers. Curiosity replaced frustration. Peace followed. You learned uncertainty invites growth. Patience encourages clarity. Balance improved. God guided exploration through waiting. Insight emerged naturally. Confidence grew. Now questions feel manageable. Calm continues. You learned to value progress unseen by others. Internal growth mattered more. Peace followed. You recognized visibility does not equal value. Quiet success feels stable. Confidence increased. God shaped humility through experience. Strength remained private. Balance returned. Now growth feels fulfilling. Calm sustains motivation. You stopped attaching emotion to every outcome. Neutral evaluation replaced intensity. Peace followed. You learned balance improves resilience. Extremes drain energy. Stability returned. God trained emotional moderation through repetition. Calm became default. Strength matured. Now outcomes feel manageable. Calm leads. You learned how to preserve calm during uncertainty involving others. Detachment protected clarity. Peace followed. You recognized others' choices are independent. Acceptance reduced stress. Balance improved. God guided emotional boundaries gently. Strength replaced worry. Calm remained. Now uncertainty holds less weight. You understand now that peace grows through awareness, not perfection. Progress remains steady. You learned mistakes do not erase growth. Learning strengthens stability. Balance holds. God allowed growth through imperfection. Confidence matured. Gradually, calm settled. Now peace feels integrated. Your worth feels reinforced. You discovered that true strength comes from consistent inner stability rather than external approval. Every challenge tested patience. But instead of reacting impulsively, you learned to observe carefully and evaluate each situation calmly. Over time, that discipline became second nature, allowing decisions to emerge from a place of clarity rather than urgency or emotional impulse. This transformation helped establish a foundation of reliability that others cannot easily shake. You realize that moments of doubt are opportunities, not threats. Each time uncertainty arises, it becomes a chance to reinforce resilience and strengthen judgment. Instead of running from discomfort, you approached it intentionally, assessing the situation with balance and forethought. That approach gradually reduced anxiety and increased the ability to remain centered, even when circumstances seemed volatile or unpredictable. God allowed experiences that were difficult and complex, requiring multiple layers of thought and discernment. You learned to navigate relationships professional decisions and personal challenges simultaneously without losing your composure. The cumulative effect of these experiences built confidence that is subtle yet unmistakable, demonstrating that strength is cultivated quietly without the need for public recognition or validation from others. Now, your calm presence is an unspoken authority. Others may misinterpret your restraint as passivity, but it is a result of deliberate internal work. Your decisions carry weight because they are calculated, not rushed. Stability has become a hallmark of your character, demonstrating that true worth grows from consistency, discernment, and the ability to maintain equilibrium under pressure. You no longer feel compelled to respond to every provocation. Each confrontation that previously caused stress now becomes a calculated opportunity for reflection rather than reaction. You realize that engaging hastily only diminishes personal energy and can lead to unnecessary tension. By pausing before responding, you create space for rational thought and measured choices, allowing situations to resolve more efficiently and with less emotional turbulence. You understood that the opinions of others should not dictate your emotional state. People may attempt to provoke or manipulate, but by maintaining neutrality, you conserve energy for meaningful pursuits. Over time, this approach has allowed you to focus on personal goals, long-term growth, and overall well-being, rather than being distracted by trivial matters or superficial judgments. That level of discernment protects peace and supports confidence. God shaped your perspective by allowing experiences that required emotional resilience. You encountered moments where patience and observation were essential, and you emerged more composed as a result. Learning to navigate these scenarios without outward conflict reinforced a sense of stability that cannot be easily disturbed. Gradually, you became adept at identifying which battles are worth engaging and which are best observed from a distance. Now, your presence commands respect without aggression. Silence communicates more than arguments ever could. You navigate complex interactions with awareness and intelligence, and people notice the steadiness you bring to conversations and decisions. Your inner calm demonstrates self-mastery, showing that true authority arises from measured control rather than constant assertion. You have cultivated the ability to manage disappointment without letting it erode self-worth. Situations do not always unfold as expected, and outcomes are often unpredictable. Instead of allowing frustration to accumulate, you approach each moment with adaptability and reflection, using challenges as stepping stones rather than obstacles. This mindset has strengthened resilience and instilled a sense of confidence that does not rely on immediate success. You realized that comparison and envy were distractions that previously hindered growth. Measuring progress against others often produced unnecessary pressure. By turning focus inward, you evaluated personal development on your own terms. This self-reflective approach allowed you to celebrate progress privately, reinforce personal standards, and avoid the chaos of external validation. God encouraged steady progress through incremental learning. Lessons came slowly and sometimes in unanticipated forms, emphasizing endurance, reflection, and strategic action. You began to value depth over speed, understanding that slow, consistent growth creates a sturdier foundation for long-term stability and success. That realization transformed how you approach both personal and professional situations. Now you approach uncertainty and unmet expectations with calm assurance. You can face disappointment without panic, seeing it as temporary rather than catastrophic. Others notice your resilience and composure, even in situations they might find stressful. This ability reflects maturity, strategic thought, and a reinforced sense of self-worth that remains unshaken by external circumstances. You no longer expend energy attempting to control outcomes beyond your influence. Understanding that some variables cannot be altered allowed you to redirect focus toward factors that can create tangible results. This strategic detachment enhances efficiency, reduces stress, and allows clarity to emerge, helping you prioritize actions that generate meaningful impact. You learned that overinvestment in outcomes often undermines well-being. Excessive effort toward uncontrollable results leads to frustration and emotional depletion. By focusing on what is actionable, you strengthened your ability to navigate life effectively, making decisions from a position of control rather than reaction. This mindset promotes confidence and a sense of empowerment. God facilitated awareness by placing you in circumstances that required patience, analysis, and acceptance. You recognized patterns in challenges and understood which elements require engagement and which demand restraint. This discipline cultivated a natural ability to maintain poise while others struggled to react to changing conditions, creating an unshakable internal equilibrium. Now your decisions and actions are deliberate, measured, and influential. Others may try to sway opinions or provoke reactions, but your focus remains unwavering. By cultivating a mindset of control over what is actionable and acceptance of what is not, you reinforce your stability, resilience, and personal authority in every interaction. You have refined the skill of observing before reacting, turning patience into a source of influence. Rapid responses once led to unnecessary conflict or regret, but now careful consideration ensures that actions are informed, thoughtful, and effective. By pausing to analyze situations, you preserve energy and gain insights that impulsive behavior would never allow. You realize that clarity of thought emerges from deliberate reflection. Emotional impulses previously clouded judgment, leading to confusion or strained relationships. By implementing pauses and self-questioning, you gained awareness of hidden motivations and potential outcomes. That awareness is a form of silent power, reinforcing confidence and stability. God facilitated this understanding through repeated exposure to scenarios that tested discernment. The experience of watching events unfold before deciding how to respond reinforced patience and judgment. Over time, observation became an invaluable skill that allows you to approach challenges strategically rather than reactively, ensuring that decisions are grounded in awareness. Now your ability to navigate complex interpersonal or professional situations stands out. People notice the balance between calm observation and precise action. This equilibrium demonstrates a mastery of self-control, transforming patience from a passive trait into a powerful tool that reinforces influence, reliability, and personal credibility. You no longer allow criticism to dictate emotional states or self-assessment. Feedback is received analytically rather than personally. Instead of becoming defensive or anxious, you evaluate constructive points and disregard irrelevant judgments. This approach preserves focus, maintains clarity, and protects inner calm from unnecessary disruption. You learn that not all voices require approval. People often project their expectations, insecurities, or misunderstandings onto you, and engaging with every comment is unproductive. By prioritizing discernment, you conserve energy for meaningful pursuits while maintaining composure in all interactions. That selective attention became essential for sustainable peace. God guided understanding by allowing you to encounter criticism in multiple contexts. Each experience highlighted the importance of filtering relevance from noise and responding with discernment. Over time, this practice built a resilient mindset, enabling you to stay grounded while learning from situations rather than being controlled by them. Now, your ability to receive feedback without destabilization has become a defining trait. Others notice your composure even under pressure. Your capacity to maintain calm while processing external opinions enhances credibility, reinforces stability, and exemplifies measured wisdom in every area of life. You have mastered the practice of managing energy across demanding circumstances. Previously, constant engagement drained focus, leaving little room for reflection or strategic action. Now you prioritize high-value tasks and interactions, ensuring that your attention is preserved for endeavors that produce tangible results and long-term growth. You learn that overextension leads to burnout and diminishes effectiveness. By identifying energy-draining influences and selectively disengaging from them, you maintain mental clarity and emotional balance. This practice enhances productivity while safeguarding resilience, allowing sustained performance over extended periods. God shaped this approach through consistent exposure to complex challenges, demonstrating the importance of pacing and focus. By learning to conserve energy for meaningful outcomes, you built a foundation that supports both productivity and inner peace. Strategic focus became a skill that enhances influence without sacrificing stability. Now, your presence in any environment reflects intentionality and control. Actions are guided by conscious prioritization rather than reactionary effort. Others recognize your ability to stay composed, maintain focus, and achieve goals efficiently, highlighting the strength derived from selective energy allocation and thoughtful engagement. You no longer rely on external validation to define your achievements or self-worth. Past tendencies to seek acknowledgement created unnecessary pressure and distraction. By shifting focus inward, you strengthened internal motivation, ensuring that accomplishments are recognized first and foremost by yourself, which fosters enduring confidence. You learned that self-reliance empowers independence. Dependence on recognition can compromise decision-making and dilute the satisfaction derived from personal achievement. By anchoring confidence internally, you reduced stress and allowed personal standards to dictate progress rather than societal metrics or comparisons. God encouraged this shift through repeated experiences that required self-trust and independent action. You discovered that personal evaluation of outcomes produces clarity and strengthens resolve. This gradual internalization of confidence reinforces stability and enhances long-term resilience. Now, your internal motivation drives consistent progress. Recognition from others may occur, but it no longer dictates emotional equilibrium or perceived worth. The result is a calm, self-sustaining confidence that persists regardless of external opinion or circumstance. You have learned the value of measured boundaries in personal and professional relationships. Overcommitment and overexposure once left you vulnerable to emotional depletion. By establishing limits, you protect energy, maintain focus, and ensure interactions remain productive and meaningful rather than exhausting. You realize that saying no is not a refusal of support or loyalty, but a preservation of resources necessary for growth. Boundaries allow for intentional engagement while minimizing unnecessary stress, creating a sustainable framework for long-term stability and personal advancement. God shaped this understanding by exposing situations where overextension would have caused harm or hindered progress. Each experience emphasized that strength often lies in restraint, and that deliberate allocation of time and energy maximizes results without compromising well-being. Now, your boundaries are a demonstration of self-respect and strategic thinking. People recognize that your interactions are intentional, measured, and effective. This approach ensures that your presence remains valuable and impactful, reinforcing both confidence and inner stability. You have refined the ability to anticipate challenges before they escalate, transforming foresight into a practical tool. By observing patterns and evaluating circumstances methodically, you identify potential risks and prepare responses proactively, reducing the likelihood of stress or reactive decision-making. You learn that preparation and analysis increase control. When situations are foreseen, responses are deliberate rather than impulsive, allowing you to navigate complex scenarios effectively. This foresight nurtures confidence and minimizes unnecessary friction or conflict. God cultivated this skill by allowing repeated exposure to evolving circumstances. Each situation required adaptation, evaluation, and strategic foresight, gradually teaching the importance of anticipation and preparedness in preserving stability and authority. Now, your capacity to foresee challenges inspires trust and confidence in others. Decisions are grounded in observation, reflection, and strategic planning. Your presence embodies readiness, composure, and intelligent leadership, illustrating the benefits of foresight and careful analysis. You no longer allow past mistakes to define future possibilities. Regret once clouded decision-making, creating hesitation and self-doubt. By reframing mistakes as lessons, you learn to extract insight, strengthen resolve, and approach new opportunities with clarity and confidence. You realize that self-blame diminishes energy and distracts from forward progress. Reflection without judgment promotes learning, reduces anxiety, and enhances focus. This method allows you to leverage experience constructively without becoming trapped in cycles of negativity. God-guided perspective through experiences that required correction and adaptation. Each era became a foundation for growth rather than a source of discouragement, teaching resilience, patience, and strategic thought. Now, mistakes function as catalysts for improvement. Confidence remains intact despite setbacks. The ability to transform failure into learning reinforces self-assurance, calm decision-making, and long-term progress. You have cultivated an environment of mental clarity by reducing cluttered thoughts and unnecessary concerns. Previously, distractions and overthinking caused fatigue, impaired judgment, and hindered productivity. By practicing focus and intentional attention, you achieved mental space conducive to calm, effective action. You learn that concentration strengthens problem-solving ability and emotional stability. By channeling energy toward meaningful priorities, you preserved resources and ensured actions were deliberate rather than reactive. That shift created an internal equilibrium that supports both efficiency and composure. God encouraged this discipline through situations requiring thoughtful prioritization and decision-making under pressure. The experience reinforced the importance of separating critical focus from inconsequential distractions, solidifying a mindset geared towards strategic clarity. Now your mental clarity guides behavior and decisions consistently. Others recognize your ability to stay composed, think clearly, and act decisively even amidst potential chaos, demonstrating the profound impact of focused attention and intentional thought. You have learned to approach setbacks with analytical detachment instead of emotional turbulence. Previously, obstacles triggered stress and frustration, clouding judgment. By reframing challenges as information rather than threats, you develop actionable strategies without succumbing to reactive emotion. You realize that detachment allows clearer perception of circumstances, revealing solutions that would otherwise remain hidden. Emotional regulation transforms adversity into opportunity, reinforcing resilience, strategic thinking, and personal confidence. God reinforced this skill by placing you in situations requiring measured response and adaptability. Each experience demonstrated that composure under pressure enhances influence, credibility, and stability, establishing a foundation for consistent success. Now your approach to setbacks is calm, measured, and effective. Others may panic or overreact, but your capacity to analyze and respond strategically inspires trust, demonstrates strength, and maintains peace. You no longer allow fear of judgment to hinder action. Previously, worry about perception impeded decisions, limited growth, and caused hesitation. By internalizing self-approval and defining personal standards, you removed external pressure from influencing choice and behavior. You learned that freedom from external judgment allows creative thinking and authentic action. This independence enhances productivity, emotional equilibrium, and long-term achievement, replacing insecurity with confidence and clarity. God supported this understanding through experiences that tested courage and demanded autonomous decision-making. Each moment reinforced the value of relying on internal judgment rather than external opinions, solidifying resilience and self-trust. Now you act with assurance, guided by personal insight and values. Others may react with surprise, but your composed, confident actions demonstrate independence, strategic intelligence, and the ability to maintain equilibrium under scrutiny. You have mastered selective engagement in conversations and social interactions. Overcommitting to unnecessary discussions previously drained energy and distracted from priorities. Now, by discerning which interactions require involvement, you conserve focus and maintain clarity. You learned that not every opinion or perspective warrants response. Choosing when to speak or remain silent ensures interactions remain productive, minimizes conflict, and preserves personal authority. Selective engagement cultivates both efficiency and calm. God facilitated this understanding through experiences demanding judgment and prioritization. Each situation reinforced the importance of measured participation, teaching restraint and focus, and strengthening your capacity to navigate social dynamics strategically. Now your participation is intentional and impactful. Others respect the balance between engagement and observation. Your ability to remain calm while contributing selectively highlights self-awareness, strategic thought, and personal stability. You have developed the ability to remain composed when plans suddenly change. Previously, unexpected shifts caused tension and self-doubt, but over time, you learned flexibility is a form of strength. By adjusting priorities and embracing change, you preserve energy while ensuring goals remain achievable, creating a sense of calm that others notice. You realize that rigid expectations often lead to disappointment. By maintaining adaptable strategies, you can respond effectively to circumstances beyond your control. This approach reduces stress and strengthens decision-making, ensuring that each adjustment is thoughtful rather than reactionary. God facilitated this understanding by allowing situations where your ability to adapt was tested repeatedly. Each time you navigated unpredictability successfully, confidence and resilience grew, demonstrating that composure is cultivated through experience rather than innate temperament. Now sudden changes no longer disrupt your stability. You approach adjustments with strategic planning, measured judgment, and deliberate pacing. Others recognize your calm authority, appreciating your ability to maintain clarity while navigating the unexpected with ease. You no longer feel obligated to explain yourself to those who refuse to understand. Previously, misunderstanding created tension and drained mental energy. By choosing when and to whom explanations are offered, you maintain control over your time and emotional state, cultivating inner peace and confidence. You learn that communication is most effective when received willingly. Forcing comprehension often leads to frustration rather than clarity. By focusing efforts on receptive individuals or situations, your energy is preserved and influence remains meaningful and productive. God shaped this wisdom through experiences where explanations were ignored or dismissed. Through repetition, you discovered the value of discretion, learning that restraint demonstrates maturity and self-respect while maintaining inner balance. Now, selective communication enhances both peace and impact. Others may misinterpret silence, but your focus remains on purposeful interaction. Your composure highlights intelligence, authority, and the ability to maintain control over your emotional environment. You have learned to navigate criticism without internalizing negativity. Previously, judgment from others caused stress and self-doubt, but by separating constructive feedback from personal attacks, you respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally, reinforcing confidence and stability. You realize that evaluating criticism objectively allows growth while avoiding unnecessary emotional depletion. By analyzing useful insight and discarding irrelevant comments, you preserve focus, maintain composure, and ensure energy is directed toward meaningful progress. God reinforced this approach through repeated exposure to diverse opinions and challenging circumstances. Each encounter strengthened discernment and patience, allowing you to respond effectively without compromise to personal integrity or peace. Now, criticism no longer destabilizes your focus. Thoughtful analysis replaces impulsive reaction, and others observe your measured response with respect. This capacity to maintain calm under scrutiny demonstrates maturity, wisdom, and reinforced self-worth. You have refined the ability to recognize emotional manipulation and respond with measured detachment. Previously, others' attempts to provoke or control your reactions caused unnecessary tension, but by maintaining awareness and boundaries, you preserve stability and clarity. You learned that emotional discernment protects both energy and mental focus. Observing intent before engaging prevents overreaction and maintains strategic advantage. This awareness strengthens influence while minimizing vulnerability. God shaped this understanding through scenarios where miscommunication or misalignment required restraint. Each experience taught the importance of patience, observation, and calm judgment, building a foundation of unshakable self-possession. Now, emotional manipulation no longer dictates behavior. You respond with thoughtfulness and poise, and others recognize the stability and insight you bring to every interaction. This skill reflects resilience, control, and the ability to maintain inner strength under pressure. You no longer let fear of failure prevent action. Previously, hesitation limited opportunities, but by reframing mistakes as lessons and focusing on effort rather than outcome, you cultivate courage and self-assurance. You realize that growth stems from experience rather than perfection. Engaging with challenges strategically enhances skills, knowledge, and confidence, ensuring that each attempt contributes to long-term development regardless of immediate success. God facilitated this understanding through trials that tested perseverance and adaptation. Each challenge became a learning opportunity, reinforcing resilience, awareness, and the ability to respond effectively to unpredictable outcomes. Now, calculated risk-taking is part of your approach. Action replaces hesitation, and failure is recognized as informative rather than catastrophic. Others observe your composure and strategic courage, reinforcing credibility, strength, and self-assurance. You have developed the ability to manage emotional intensity without suppression. Previously, heightened feelings led to rash decisions or fatigue, but now, reflection and self-regulation allow you to process emotions without losing clarity or control. You learn that emotional balance enhances both decision-making and communication. By acknowledging feelings while maintaining composure, you preserve energy, maintain perspective, and ensure actions are deliberate rather than reactive. God cultivated this capacity through experiences that demanded patience, observation, and measured response. Exposure to emotionally charged situations gradually reinforced resilience and strategic awareness. Now, emotions become tools rather than obstacles. You act with clarity, respond with insight, and others respect your capacity to remain composed under pressure, demonstrating maturity, calm authority, and self-mastery. You no longer allow past disappointments to dictate your present mindset. Previously, lingering regrets influenced decisions, but by practicing acceptance and focusing on actionable opportunities, you strengthen resilience and maintain peace. You realize that the past serves as reference, not limitation. Learning from experience without dwelling ensures growth, prevents stagnation, and preserves mental clarity. This approach reinforces confidence while minimizing unnecessary stress. God guided this process by exposing circumstances where reliance on outdated narratives would hinder progress. Through experience, acceptance became a practice of strength rather than compromise, creating stability and composure. Now, past experiences inform rather than control behavior. Decisions are grounded in insight, foresight, and adaptability, while inner calm and confidence remain intact. Others notice your balance, resilience, and consistent approach to challenges. You have cultivated patience as a strategic tool. Previously, impulsivity led to miscalculations, but by implementing delayed responses and deliberate thought, you maintain control and enhance decision quality. You learned that measured pacing allows insight, minimizes mistakes, and ensures energy is directed efficiently. Patience is not inaction, but an active process that preserves composure while maximizing results. God reinforced this skill through scenarios requiring observation, waiting, and thoughtful engagement. Repetition strengthened awareness, self-discipline, and the capacity to act decisively at the optimal moment. Now, patience governs both personal and professional interactions. Strategic timing enhances influence. Decisions are sound, and others respect your capacity for deliberate, measured action, reflecting authority and controlled intelligence. You no longer equate busyness with productivity. Previously, constant activity drained focus, but by prioritizing meaningful tasks and minimizing distraction, you maintain energy, clarity, and consistent progress. You realize that effectiveness stems from intention rather than volume of activity. Strategic focus allows deeper engagement, better results, and the preservation of mental and emotional resources. God shaped this understanding by presenting situations where overextension led to diminished outcomes. Through experience, you learned the value of focus, prioritization, and deliberate effort, reinforcing efficiency and resilience. Now, purposeful action drives progress. Others recognize your capacity to balance effort, maintain clarity, and produce meaningful results without sacrificing composure, demonstrating intelligence, discipline, and strategic mastery. You have refined the practice of self-reflection as a tool for sustained growth. Previously, reflection was sporadic and reactive, but now it is consistent, deliberate, and insightful, guiding decision-making and strengthening self-awareness. You learned that introspection allows recognition of patterns, strengths, and areas for improvement. Thoughtful evaluation promotes continuous learning, reinforces confidence, and ensures alignment with long-term goals. God facilitated understanding by creating situations that required analysis, patience, and adaptation. Regular reflection cultivated insight, resilience, and an ability to navigate complexity with clarity and precision. Now, self-reflection is a daily habit that informs choices, enhances emotional intelligence, and fosters stability. Others notice your composed presence, deliberate decisions, and steady personal growth, all of which reflect maturity, clarity, and strategic awareness. You have learned to manage distractions effectively, recognizing that constant interruptions fragment focus and drain energy. By establishing intentional periods of concentration, you preserve mental clarity and create space for thoughtful action. This strategy enhances efficiency and ensures that decisions are deliberate rather than reactionary, fostering a sense of control over your environment. You realize that focus is a cultivated skill rather than an innate talent. By training your attention to remain on high-priority tasks, you reduce wasted energy and enhance productivity. This disciplined approach strengthens resilience and allows sustained progress toward personal and professional objectives. God facilitated this understanding through repeated exposure to complex tasks and competing priorities. Each situation demanded selective engagement, teaching you to prioritize effectively while maintaining composure and clarity. These experiences reinforced the value of mental discipline in achieving meaningful outcomes. Now, distractions no longer undermine your potential. You act with precision, manage energy efficiently, and navigate challenges strategically. Others observe your calm focus and intentionality, recognizing the depth of preparation, insight, and self-mastery you bring to every task. You have cultivated the ability to observe others' intentions without becoming entangled emotionally. Previously, you reacted impulsively to perceived slights or manipulations, but by practicing measured observation, you preserve composure and evaluate situations objectively. This skill allows for strategic responses rather than impulsive reactions. You realize that understanding motives does not require emotional immersion. By maintaining emotional distance, you protect your energy while gaining clarity about relationships and social dynamics. This perspective strengthens discernment and fosters confidence in decision-making. God guided this skill through interactions that tested awareness and patience. Repeated experiences of subtle provocation reinforced the importance of detachment and thoughtful evaluation, demonstrating that awareness paired with restraint generates influence and stability. Now, observing without reacting allows you to navigate social complexities effectively. Others may attempt to provoke or influence, but your calm, deliberate responses reflect insight, authority, and measured judgment, highlighting self-possession and resilience. You no longer allow immediate emotional impulses to dictate behavior. Previously, heightened reactions often led to regret, but now intentional pauses allow rational analysis to guide action. By creating a moment between stimulus and response, you convert potential volatility into strategic advantage, maintaining peace and control. You realize that delayed response is a form of strength. It enables thoughtful decision-making, reduces unnecessary conflict, and enhances credibility. By choosing timing carefully, you maximize influence while conserving energy for meaningful action. God reinforced this approach through experiences where patience and reflection were essential. Over time, the practice of pausing before action strengthened judgment, emotional regulation, and the ability to respond effectively under pressure. Now, measured reactions define your interactions. Calm deliberation replaces impulsivity, and others respect your insight, composure, and authority. This ability demonstrates emotional mastery and reinforces your presence as both stable and strategic. You have learned to prioritize tasks based on value rather than urgency alone. Previously, immediate demands dictated actions, often resulting in stress and inefficiency. Now, by evaluating importance and long-term impact, you allocate energy to endeavors that truly advance goals, fostering productivity and clarity. You realize that prioritization enhances both effectiveness and peace of mind. By distinguishing between what is urgent and what truly matters, you minimize wasted effort and ensure that attention is focused on high-impact decisions, increasing overall stability. God facilitated this understanding through experiences where misallocation of effort produced avoidable setbacks. These lessons reinforce the importance of thoughtful planning, intentional action, and measured execution, emphasizing sustainable success over rushed outcomes. Now, your decision-making reflects discernment and strategy. Tasks are addressed according to significance, resulting in consistent progress, composure, and influence. Others notice your capability to manage complexity with calm precision, demonstrating both wisdom and resilience. You no longer rely on external validation to measure self-worth. Previously, praise and recognition dictated confidence, creating vulnerability to disappointment. By cultivating internal standards, you strengthen independence, maintain focus, and protect emotional equilibrium, ensuring that value originates from within rather than external approval. You realize that self-reliance empowers authentic growth. Validation from others may be inconsistent or unreliable, but internal recognition creates stability and reinforces self-assurance. This perspective fosters resilience and long-term confidence. God guided this understanding by providing opportunities where external acknowledgement was absent or withheld. Through these experiences, you learn to trust judgment, affirm progress internally, and cultivate a secure foundation of self-worth. Now, your confidence remains unaffected by external opinion. Decisions are guided by principle, effort, and insight rather than recognition, creating a sense of calm authority that others respect and admire. You have developed the skill of extracting lessons from every experience, including failure. Previously, setbacks caused frustration and stagnation, but by analyzing outcomes thoughtfully, you convert mistakes into actionable insight, reinforcing growth and personal strength. You realize that reflection and learning foster resilience. Every challenge carries information that can inform future decisions. And by identifying patterns, strengths, and areas for improvement, you enhance competence and strategic awareness. God facilitated this learning through circumstances that required adaptability and discernment. By encountering repeated obstacles, you honed the ability to derive practical wisdom from adversity, transforming potential defeat into constructive progress. Now, failure is no longer a source of fear or hesitation. It becomes a catalyst for growth, insight, and confidence. Others notice your composure, strategic thinking, and the ability to convert challenges into opportunity, reflecting maturity and steady self-mastery. You no longer allow emotions to overshadow reason during complex decision-making. Previously, stress or excitement clouded judgment, but now Intentional awareness ensures that choices are informed by clarity, logic, and perspective. This approach preserves composure and strengthens credibility. You realize that emotional regulation enhances effectiveness. By balancing intuition and rational thought, you minimize impulsivity and optimize outcomes. This equilibrium ensures consistency and supports long-term progress. God reinforced this skill through experiences that required calm under pressure. Each challenge taught that measured analysis, not immediate reaction, generates influence, respect, and stability. Now, your decisions consistently reflect balance and insight. Others observe your calm and deliberate approach, recognizing intelligence, authority, and emotional control as hallmarks of your presence. You have mastered the practice of evaluating situations before committing energy or resources. Previously, hasty engagement led to inefficiency and stress, but by assessing potential impact, cost, and benefit, you ensure that efforts align with meaningful objectives. You realize that thoughtful evaluation increases effectiveness. By focusing on high-value tasks and opportunities, you conserve energy, maintain composure, and enhance influence. This practice strengthens long-term productivity and personal authority. God facilitated this understanding by presenting complex challenges requiring foresight and discernment. Each scenario reinforced the importance of analysis, patience, and measured engagement as tools for sustained success. Now, commitment is strategic rather than impulsive. Others notice your ability to allocate energy wisely, act deliberately, and maintain calm authority, highlighting insight, balance, and mastery over both circumstances and self. You no longer let minor setbacks dictate mood or productivity. Previously, small disruptions caused disproportionate stress, but by reframing challenges and focusing on controllable factors, you maintain balance and progress without unnecessary emotional strain. You realize that perspective shapes experience. By emphasizing actionable steps over uncontrollable elements, you reduce frustration, enhance focus, and strengthen resilience. This approach ensures that energy is directed toward meaningful outcomes. God reinforced this understanding by presenting scenarios that tested patience and judgment. Each instance highlighted the value of measured responses, adaptability, and focus, teaching calm leadership and emotional stability. Now, obstacles are evaluated rationally, and small setbacks do not disrupt momentum. Others respect your composure, persistence, and ability to maintain focus and clarity in situations that would otherwise provoke anxiety or distraction. You have refined the skill of maintaining personal integrity under external pressure. Previously, conformity to expectations caused internal conflict, but by aligning actions with principles rather than external demand, you strengthen confidence, stability, and self-respect. You realize that authenticity fosters long-term influence. Compromising values for approval diminishes authority, whereas adherence to principle reinforces trust, credibility, and inner balance. This approach builds resilience and sustains self-assurance. God guided this development by creating situations where pressure tested judgment and adherence to core values. Successfully navigating these experiences reinforced the significance of principled action over transient validation. Now your integrity guides decisions consistently. Others observe reliability, consistency, and calm authority, demonstrating the value of principled conduct and the power of maintaining internal alignment amidst external pressures. You no longer allow uncertainty to create paralysis. Previously, fear of unknown outcomes delayed action, but by cultivating trust in observation, planning, and incremental progress, you navigate ambiguity effectively, maintaining composure and momentum. You realize that structured assessment mitigates anxiety. By breaking uncertainty into manageable steps, evaluating risks, and planning contingencies, you preserve clarity and decisiveness, strengthening resilience and strategic insight. God facilitated this skill through exposure to unpredictable circumstances. Learning to adapt without panic reinforced patience, analysis, and measured action, creating a foundation of calm authority, even in complex scenarios. Now, ambiguity is navigated confidently. Others notice your composed decision-making, thoughtful risk management, and ability to maintain stability while moving forward in uncertain conditions, demonstrating insight, resilience, and self-mastery. You have learned to distinguish between urgent and important matters. Previously, reactive responses consumed energy and attention, but by prioritizing importance over immediacy, you ensure that focus aligns with long-term objectives and meaningful progress. You realize that strategic prioritization enhances efficiency and stability. Immediate distractions no longer dictate action. Instead, intentional choice determines engagement, conserving energy and fostering calm confidence. God guided this understanding by presenting overlapping demands that required careful discernment. Experiences reinforced the value of measured decision-making, allowing you to allocate attention effectively while maintaining control. Now your actions reflect thoughtful prioritization. Others respect your discernment, organization, and calm influence, recognizing your ability to navigate competing demands with clarity and strategic focus. You no longer let others' expectations define your pace or direction. Previously, external pressure caused stress and distracted focus. But by setting personal standards and objectives, you maintain control, prioritize effectively, and ensure sustainable growth. You realize that self-directed focus enhances productivity and confidence. Aligning actions with personal goals reduces anxiety, strengthens resilience, and promotes consistent progress. God reinforced this understanding through experiences demanding independent judgment. Navigating challenges without reliance on approval cultivated autonomy, self-trust, and deliberate strategic action. Now your direction is intentional and aligned with purpose. Others observe confidence, clarity, and calm authority, recognizing the value of measured, self-guided progress over reactive compliance. You have cultivated patience as a response to complex challenges. Previously, impatience led to unnecessary stress and miscalculations, but deliberate pacing allows evaluation, preparation, and thoughtful execution, enhancing both outcomes and stability. You realize that patience is not passive, but an active strategy. It permits observation, insight, and preparation, strengthening decision-making, resilience, and credibility. God facilitated this skill by providing scenarios that required waiting, reflection, and careful assessment. Each experience reinforced the power of measured timing and deliberate action as tools for success. Now, challenges are approached with calculated patience. Others recognize your strategic foresight, composure, and ability to achieve results without rashness, reflecting maturity, stability, and influence. You no longer let small irritations disrupt overall focus or calm. Previously, minor frustrations would escalate stress, but by cultivating awareness and deliberate emotional regulation, you preserve energy and maintain composure in all circumstances. You realize that emotional discipline strengthens decision-making and reduces conflict. By responding thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively, you maintain clarity and control, enhancing productivity and influence. God guided this capacity through repeated exposure to provocation and frustration. Each experience reinforced the importance of measured response, reflection, and the ability to maintain inner calm amidst external turbulence. Now, irritations are acknowledged without disruption. Others notice your ability to maintain stability, focus, and control, reflecting resilience, self-mastery, and calm authority in diverse situations. You have learned the value of focusing on solutions rather than problems. Previously, obstacles would create stress and inaction, but by shifting attention to actionable steps, you conserve energy and maintain forward momentum. This approach encourages problem solving over rumination, fostering resilience and clarity. You realize that analyzing the situation constructively reveals opportunities otherwise overlooked. By identifying potential solutions, you regain control, enhance confidence, and ensure that challenges become platforms for growth rather than sources of frustration. God facilitated this understanding by presenting circumstances that required thoughtful response and adaptability. Each experience reinforced the importance of proactive thinking, measured action, and maintaining composure amidst complexity. Now challenges no longer paralyze or overwhelm you. Others observe your calm approach, insight, and ability to navigate obstacles strategically, reflecting authority, discernment, and enduring resilience. You have developed the skill of choosing your battles wisely. Previously, every conflict demanded attention, causing stress and depletion. But now, you assess the importance and potential outcome before engaging. This discernment protects energy and preserves emotional stability. You realize that not every challenge requires confrontation. By focusing only on matters with meaningful consequences, you reduce unnecessary friction, maintain clarity, and direct efforts toward impactful outcomes. God reinforced this practice through experiences where impulsive engagement produced minimal gain. Learning to evaluate situations carefully strengthened patience, strategic thinking, and the ability to navigate complex interactions effectively. Now, selective engagement defines your presence. Others notice your calm authority, respect your judgment, and recognize the power of deliberate action over impulsive reaction. You have refined the ability to detach from negativity without disengaging from reality. Previously, criticism, complaints, or toxic energy affected mood and focus. But by cultivating discernment, you protect mental and emotional resources while remaining aware and responsive. You realize that detachment allows clarity. Observing situations without absorbing negativity preserves energy, maintains perspective, and enables thoughtful decision-making. This balance strengthens resilience and personal influence. God facilitated this skill by exposing you to environments requiring awareness without emotional compromise. Each experience emphasized restraint, observation, and the power of maintaining internal equilibrium amidst external turbulence. Now, negativity no longer erodes stability or confidence. Others perceive composure, insight, and measured judgment, demonstrating the effectiveness of mindful detachment and self-regulation. You no longer feel compelled to justify decisions to everyone. Previously, validation-seeking caused distraction and stress, but by trusting judgment and aligning choices with personal principles, you preserve focus and reinforce self-reliance. You realize that accountability is important, but external approval is optional. Decisions guided by clarity and integrity generate sustainable confidence, maintain inner peace, and ensure energy is focused on meaningful pursuits. God strengthened this approach by providing experiences where external validation was absent. Each scenario reinforced the value of independent reasoning, principled action, and reliance on personal discernment over public opinion. Now, your decisions are confident, intentional, and unshaken by the need for justification. Others respect the clarity, authority, and calm control that define your actions. You have mastered the art of incremental progress. Previously, seeking immediate results caused frustration, but by valuing small, consistent steps, you maintain momentum, build skill, and reinforce confidence over time. You realize that growth is cumulative. Focused, deliberate action creates sustainable change, prevents burnout, and fosters resilience. Each step, no matter how minor, contributes to broader achievement. God guided this understanding through experiences requiring perseverance and patience. Each task or challenge reinforced the significance of steady effort, reflection, and strategic persistence in cultivating long-term success. Now, incremental action drives consistent advancement. Others observe your steady progress, composure, and strategic patience, highlighting both diligence and mastery of sustainable growth. You no longer allow comparison to undermine confidence. Previously, measuring against others created stress and self-doubt. But by focusing on personal standards and individual growth, you maintain clarity and cultivate authentic achievement. You realize that true progress is relative to your own journey. Benchmarking against others often distorts perception and wastes energy, while focusing on personal improvement strengthens self-esteem, decision-making, and resilience. God facilitated this understanding by presenting circumstances that highlighted individual paths. Lessons in patience and focus reinforce that internal validation is far more sustainable than external comparison. Now your growth is self-directed and measured. Others recognize your independence, confidence, and clarity, admiring the calm authority that arises from trusting your unique path. You have cultivated the ability to respond to challenges without emotional compromise. Previously, difficulties caused stress and reactive behavior, but by practicing reflection and analysis before action, you maintain clarity, confidence, and control. You realize that thoughtful response enhances outcomes. Reaction without deliberation can amplify conflict, whereas measured action preserves composure and strengthens influence. God strengthened this capacity by presenting scenarios that demanded patience and discernment. Each experience reinforced the importance of deliberate action as a method of preserving stability and authority. Now your responses reflect insight, balance, and resilience. Others perceive calm confidence, respect your judgment, and recognize the strategic approach that defines your presence. You no longer let past failures hinder ambition. Previously, fear of repetition caused hesitation, but by reframing experience as learning, you transform setbacks into tools for growth, reinforcing self-assurance and resilience. You realize that reflection, not regret, drives development. Analyzing errors, understanding causation, and applying lessons enhances decision-making, strengthens confidence, and maintains forward momentum. God reinforced this principle by providing repeated opportunities to confront challenge, requiring adaptation and measured response. Each scenario built capacity to act decisively without being hindered by prior mistakes. Now setbacks become stepping stones. Others notice your composed confidence, strategic insight, and ability to transform challenges into opportunity, exemplifying resilience and steady growth. You have learned to conserve energy by focusing on priorities that matter most. Previously, scattered attention diluted effort and created stress, but strategic selection of tasks and relationships maximizes impact, preserves mental clarity, and strengthens influence. You realized that selective focus enhances effectiveness. By allocating resources to high-value opportunities, you achieve more meaningful results and maintain stability despite competing demands. God facilitated this approach by presenting scenarios requiring discernment in resource allocation. These experiences reinforced intentionality, patience, and strategic action as tools for personal and professional development. Now energy is directed purposefully. Others observe your efficiency, calm decision-making, and the deliberate prioritization that underscores authority and sustained impact. You no longer allow external noise to disrupt concentration. Previously, opinions, gossip, or distractions interfered with progress, but by cultivating focus and resilience, you preserve clarity and achieve results without unnecessary interference. You realize that ignoring irrelevant input is a form of self-protection. By filtering attention, you enhance effectiveness, maintain calm, and strengthen decision-making capacity. God strengthened this skill by providing repeated exposure to situations of distraction and unpredictability. Each experience emphasized the importance of selective attention and disciplined focus. Now, distractions are neutralized through awareness and prioritization. Others respect your composure, focus, and the ability to maintain stability and productivity amidst external chaos. You have refined the practice of setting boundaries to protect mental and emotional energy. Previously, overcommitment caused fatigue and diminished focus, but deliberate limits ensure sustainability, clarity, and personal effectiveness. You realize that boundaries are a tool, not a restriction. Clear limits maintain energy, focus, and productivity, allowing deeper engagement in tasks and relationships that matter most. God facilitated this awareness by creating circumstances where overextension threatens stability. Experiences taught that intentional limits promote resilience, authority, and inner calm. Now boundaries preserve balance. Others recognize your clarity, self-respect, and strategic approach to engagement, reinforcing respect and admiration. You no longer allow small failures to overshadow progress. Previously, minor setbacks created disproportionate frustration, but by focusing on learning and long-term objectives, you maintain motivation, confidence, and clarity. You realized that perspective governs response. By emphasizing actionable insight and incremental improvement, setbacks become informative rather than obstructive, enhancing resilience and strategic awareness. God reinforced this understanding through repeated exposure to challenge. Lessons in patience, reflection, and forward focus cultivated the ability to remain composed and proactive. Now failures are reframed as opportunities. Others observe steady confidence, thoughtful action, and resilience, demonstrating maturity and long-term focus. You have cultivated the ability to navigate social dynamics with awareness and tact. Previously, misinterpretation caused conflict. But by observing behaviors, motives, and intentions, you respond strategically while maintaining composure. You realize that discernment protects influence. Understanding context allows measured action, preserves energy, and strengthens credibility. God facilitated this skill through repeated exposure to complex interpersonal scenarios. Awareness and deliberate engagement reinforced calm authority and strategic thinking. Now, interactions are deliberate and impactful. Others recognize insight, composure, and ability to maintain stability while navigating social complexities effectively. You no longer allow indecision to delay action. Previously, overthinking caused hesitation and lost opportunities, but by analyzing priorities, evaluating options, and trusting judgment, you act decisively with confidence. You realize that clarity emerges from preparation. Strategic assessment reduces risk, enhances effectiveness, and preserves composure under uncertainty. God guided this skill through situations demanding rapid, thoughtful decision-making. Each experience reinforced judgment, confidence, and the importance of proactive action. Now decisions are timely, strategic, and confident. Others notice your decisiveness, composure, and the steady authority that underpins successful outcomes. You have mastered the ability to manage expectations, both others and your own. Previously unmet expectations caused stress and disappointment, but by focusing on realistic objectives and clear communication, you maintain peace and effectiveness. You realize that alignment between capability and demand prevents frustration. Setting clear boundaries, prioritizing, and communicating ensures goals are achievable, strengthening confidence and resilience. God reinforced this principle through experiences where expectation, misalignment created challenges. Learning to anticipate, communicate, and manage outcomes cultivated stability and emotional regulation. Now, expectations are managed effectively. Others recognize your foresight, composure, and capacity to navigate potential conflicts without stress, reinforcing trust and influence. You no longer allow comparison to fuel insecurity. Previously, observing others' achievements created doubt, but by focusing on personal growth, progress, and effort, you maintain confidence, clarity, and motivation. You realize that authenticity outperforms imitation. Measuring progress against personal goals fosters resilience, self-assurance, and purposeful action. God reinforced this understanding through circumstances that emphasized individual paths. Lessons in patience and perspective cultivated confidence and independence. Now, growth is self-directed and measured. Others notice calm authority, self-assurance, and strategic focus, demonstrating confidence rooted in authenticity. You have learned to embrace discomfort as a catalyst for growth. Previously, challenges caused avoidance or hesitation, but by reframing difficulty as opportunity, you strengthen resilience, insight, and confidence. You realized that discomfort signals potential learning. Facing challenges intentionally cultivates adaptability, problem-solving, and strategic thinking, reinforcing both internal and external strength. God guided this understanding through experiences demanding courage, persistence, and reflection. Overcoming adversity strengthened mental fortitude and decision-making capacity. Now discomfort is met proactively. Others observe composure, resourcefulness, and the ability to thrive under challenge, reflecting resilience, strategic insight, and self-mastery. You no longer let external chaos dictate internal peace. Previously, turbulent environments caused stress, but by anchoring focus internally, you maintain composure, clarity, and stability regardless of surroundings. You realize that internal equilibrium is independent of external conditions. Centered awareness enables rational thought, deliberate action, and consistent performance. God facilitated this understanding by exposing you to unpredictable and high-pressure situations. Mastery of inner focus allowed calm, judgment, and resilience to flourish. Now, your presence remains composed amidst chaos. Others recognize poise, strategic insight, and consistent decision-making as hallmarks of internal stability. You have cultivated the ability to act with patience and precision. Previously, impulsive actions led to miscalculations, but deliberate timing ensures measured, impactful results that preserve energy and foster confidence. You realize that strategic timing enhances influence. Waiting for optimal conditions allows for thorough analysis, thoughtful preparation, and effective execution, reinforcing authority. God reinforced this skill by presenting scenarios requiring patience, observation, and disciplined action. Each experience emphasized timing as a critical factor in achieving meaningful outcomes. Now, actions are intentional, strategic, and precise. Others observe thoughtful execution, composure, and the results of calculated patience, demonstrating insight, control, and steady influence. You no longer allow unnecessary worry to compromise effectiveness. Previously, anticipation of problems generated anxiety and distraction, but by focusing on actionable steps and controlling what is possible, you preserve clarity and energy. You realize that concern without control is unproductive. Directing effort toward practical solutions strengthens confidence, resilience, and consistent progress. God facilitated this understanding by creating situations that demanded proactive thinking rather than anxiety-driven reaction. Repeated experience reinforced calm judgment, focus, and the capacity to navigate uncertainty strategically. Now, worry no longer dictates behavior. Others notice your composure, problem-solving ability, and steady decision-making, reflecting resilience, insight, and purposeful action. You have developed the ability to navigate criticism without letting it shake confidence. Previously, negative opinions caused self-doubt, but by discerning constructive feedback from noise, you maintain clarity, composure, and focus on meaningful improvement. You realize that critique is a tool when used thoughtfully. By extracting actionable lessons and discarding irrelevant negativity, you preserve energy, reinforce resilience, and strengthen decision-making capabilities. God facilitated this understanding through experiences exposing you to differing perspectives. Each encounter strengthened discernment, teaching the importance of measured response and internal stability. Now, criticism becomes an instrument for growth rather than a source of stress. Others observe your calm insight, strategic thinking, and the ability to remain composed while evaluating input thoughtfully. You no longer allow impatience to derail progress. Previously, urgency led to mistakes and frustration, but by embracing pacing, planning, and deliberate action, you maintain productivity, clarity, and emotional balance. You realize that patience is a form of strength, not weakness. Thoughtful preparation allows better outcomes, deeper understanding, and sustainable progress while preserving energy and focus. God reinforced this skill by creating situations that demanded waiting, reflection, and strategic timing. Each scenario highlighted the value of composure, planning, and careful execution. Now, patience defines your approach. Others recognize your ability to act decisively without rush, respecting the calm authority and steady judgment that guides every decision. You have learned to protect your focus from unnecessary distractions. Previously, interruptions and competing demands caused overwhelm. But by prioritizing and filtering attention, you maintain clarity, energy, and productivity. You realized that selective attention enhances both effectiveness and peace of mind. Concentrating on meaningful tasks preserves resources and strengthens both performance and influence. God facilitated this understanding by placing you in environments filled with competing priorities. Each experience emphasized intentionality, discernment, and strategic allocation of mental effort. Now, distractions no longer disrupt your goals. Others notice your focus, composure, and ability to navigate complex situations with calm precision, reflecting mastery over attention and energy. You no longer allow fear of judgment to limit self-expression. Previously, the opinions of others dictated choices, but by grounding actions in personal principles, you maintain confidence, clarity, and independence. You realize that self-guided action fosters authenticity. By prioritizing internal standards over external approval, you preserve energy, strengthen resilience, and cultivate sustainable self-assurance. God reinforced this understanding through experiences where societal pressure tested your judgment. Each challenge taught that confidence rooted in principle withstands external scrutiny. Now your actions reflect conviction and self-trust. Others observe calm authority, strategic independence, and a consistent alignment with personal integrity. You have refined the ability to transform challenges into opportunities for growth. Previously, difficulties caused frustration and stagnation. But by analyzing situations and responding strategically, you cultivate insight, resilience, and resourcefulness. You realize that every challenge carries a lesson or advantage. By identifying practical applications and potential growth points, setbacks become catalysts for development rather than obstacles. God facilitated this skill through repeated exposure to demanding circumstances. Each trial reinforced problem solving, adaptability, and the ability to maintain composure under pressure. Now challenges are approached proactively. Others recognize your resourcefulness, confidence, and strategic thinking, demonstrating mastery over circumstance and self. You no longer allow indecision to prevent action. Previously, overanalysis delayed results, but by establishing priorities and trusting judgment, you act with confidence, clarity, and purpose. You realize that clarity emerges from thoughtful assessment and decisive execution. By balancing analysis with action, you optimize outcomes and maintain momentum while minimizing stress. God guided this ability through experiences requiring rapid yet measured responses. Each scenario reinforced trust in your own insight, patience, and judgment. Now, decision-making is intentional and confident. Others perceive calm authority, strategic foresight, and a steady capacity to achieve meaningful results. You have learned to embrace accountability without fear. Previously, mistakes caused shame or hesitation, but by acknowledging responsibility and applying lessons, you cultivate growth, credibility, and resilience. You realize that accepting accountability strengthens trust and influence. By demonstrating ownership, you preserve integrity, foster respect, and encourage constructive outcomes. God reinforced this understanding through experiences that highlighted the consequences of action and inaction, reflection and responsibility became tools for both personal growth and strategic advantage. Now accountability is met with confidence and clarity. Others observe your reliability, maturity, and capacity to navigate responsibility with composure and insight. You no longer allow uncertainty to create fear or stagnation. Previously, unknown outcomes led to hesitation, but by focusing on preparation, adaptability, and incremental progress, you navigate unpredictability with clarity and confidence. You realize that calculated action reduces anxiety. By preparing, planning, and remaining flexible, you maintain focus, resilience, and momentum regardless of outcome. God facilitated this skill through experiences with ambiguity and unpredictability. Each challenge reinforced composure, foresight, and the ability to act decisively under pressure. Now, uncertainty is approached with calm assurance. Others notice strategic insight, adaptability, and the steady composure that allows success even in unpredictable circumstances. You have cultivated the ability to maintain peace regardless of external circumstances. Previously, environmental chaos or interpersonal tension caused stress, but by focusing internally and controlling reactions, you preserve stability, clarity, and influence. You realize that inner calm empowers rational thinking. By remaining centered, you strengthen decision-making, emotional resilience, and consistency in behavior. God reinforced this skill through experiences designed to test composure. Each scenario emphasized the value of internal focus, deliberate action, and maintaining equilibrium despite external pressures. Now, peace is sustained regardless of challenges. Others respect your presence, recognizing calm authority, strategic insight, and mastery over both self and situation. You no longer allow temporary setbacks to dictate long-term vision. Previously, challenges caused frustration or diverted attention, but by maintaining focus on overarching goals, you preserve motivation, clarity, and momentum. You realize that setbacks are part of growth. Viewing obstacles as lessons and opportunities maintains confidence, reinforces resilience, and ensures consistent progress toward meaningful objectives. God facilitated this understanding by creating situations where persistence was required. Repeated challenges reinforced patience, strategic focus, and steady determination. Now, setbacks are navigated strategically, without distraction from purpose. Others observe persistence, composure, and the ability to maintain focus under pressure, reflecting determination, clarity, and self-mastery. Your journey toward peace and self-mastery is the product of deliberate choices, resilience, and clarity. You no longer allow external pressures, fear, or distraction to compromise your focus or composure. Each challenge you faced has refined discernment, strengthened confidence, and reinforced strategic thinking, preparing you to act with intentionality in every aspect of life. The strength you exhibit is not born of circumstance, but cultivated through patience, reflection, and principled action. By prioritizing meaningful engagement, managing energy, and protecting mental and emotional resources, you maintain balance while achieving steady progress toward your goals. Your inner authority becomes evident to all who interact with you, inspiring respect and admiration. By trusting insight, embracing challenges, and sustaining focus, you transform potential obstacles into opportunities for growth. Composure, resilience, and deliberate action define your presence, ensuring that peace is maintained, even amidst complexity and unpredictability. Others observe not just your achievements, but the wisdom, stability, and strategic foresight behind every step you take. Remember, true strength lies in maintaining control over yourself and your environment, prioritizing growth over distraction, and moving forward with clarity, confidence, and intentionality. Your peace is a reflection of self-mastery, and your worth continues to grow as you navigate life with purpose, insight, and unwavering composure.